Hi, Georgie. Hi, Maria. How are you here? Good. How are you? See you.
Go ahead, Frank. Want to say something quick? Go right ahead.
Frank wants.
Yes, could be quiet for a minute.
Frank wants to speak.
I want to say something to the board. First of all, anybody that runs for the board has to be admired and thanked because they save us a lot of money. Because we don't have to have a management committee and all kind of people involved. Every sub repair, they take care of that. And that being said, it's the first time we ever had 3 people volunteer for the board. This is really unusual, and they're all qualified.
No, they're not.
And I mean, to be qualified, you have to own a place, you have to have the assessments kept up, and you have to have no felonies on the record. Okay? So, I'm sure they're all qualified.
Oh, they can't hear you. They want to hear you.
Okay. Anyway, I'm thanking the board for their service. And it's a thankless job. You get no pay and no benefits.
Nobody calls
You don't even get a parking place. You get nothing. But it's a lot of grief. And I don't know John. I know Phil pretty well because he has a place up next to Diane. And I'm sure John's a nice guy. And Phil's certainly fine.
They're all.
But I read Craig's resume, and he's like so super qualified. We're so lucky to get a guy like that.
Yes.
Anyway, with that much said, I know you ain't going to decide, but I wanted to say
For the people, thank you.
yes, okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Great.
Right on the line.
Thank you, Robert.
Got 2 more candidates that are supposed to be coming out the door. They got the LAC in time.
Final one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're running late. There's Johnny.
Sorry I'm late.
Yeah, you were.
Been on a conference call.
I'm gonna wait for Patricia.
Hi, everyone.
Here?
Hi, John.
All right, we'll wait for Patricia for only 1 minute, and if not, we're starting the roll. So I'm just saying.
Hey, how you doing?
Thank God it's quiet. All right. Here comes some other ones, so it's good.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna
She's
start.
pulling up. She said, wait 3 minutes. Do you want to go ahead and say?
No, you're not.
Yeah. Craig, if you want to do that, your speech now, you want to do that now? Or
She's going to be here. She's running a little late. So yeah, we have better than coming in.
You want to do that? That was
She'll be here shortly.
all right. So
Wait.
What'd you do all day? They quieted it down pretty good.
everybody's here. She's coming in the door. Chairs over here. Andre. Chairs over here if you need some. All right. Okay. We'll start this meeting at 4 minutes late. We're going to start the meeting, so the director of board meeting here on February 1st, 5:05. Let's say 5:04 exact time. So we're going to establish a quorum.
Here.
We're all here? Here.
Here.
Approval of the minutes of December 18th, 2017 meeting.
You have one in front of you, all of you do, for the minutes. objections to it?
Nope. I propose that we accept the minutes as written.
I'll second it.
All accept?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
All right, so now we got the nice number 3 option. We're going to 2017 financial report review. And that would be done by the treasurer, Tricia Gibbons, in case someone doesn't know who the treasurer is Tricia Gibbons, in case somebody's...
Are you ready?
We got some new people here too.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready, ready. Okay, so those of the people who receive the budget and also the annual, I should say the monthly treasury reports, I didn't get any questions from anyone, so I assume those people understand what was sent out. However, just to do a review, I highlighted some things from the end of the year. So the first thing that I highlighted is in our income, we budgeted for $7,000, which we have done the last few years. We collected $8,373.
For what was that?
I'm sorry.
That was for our laundry income.
Oh, okay.
So we collected $1,273, more than we budgeted for. Okay, that was income. Everything else was sort of standard. The other pieces of information I wanted to bring up were the expenses that we actually under budgeted for. So fees, dues, and inspections, we budgeted for $750, and we actually spent $1,558 on fees, dues, and inspections. So that was one thing that I wanted to point out. Wages and salaries, we were under budget. We budgeted for $16,640, and we only spent $14,340. So we had a little savings there. Under fire, we budgeted for $1,660, and we spent $7,177. And that was mainly because we had a fire inspection this year, and there were not a number of violations that we had to pay big money to get fixed. Also, we budgeted in the pool service parts and repairs area. We budgeted $4,000, and we actually spent $8,869. Under the electrical repairs, we budgeted for $500, and we spent $2,175.
What was that one?
Electrical repairs and parts. And the other thing is, under hurricane repairs, we didn't have any budget for it, and we spent $10,698. Well, there was a lot spent exactly on the boards because there were so many open porches. So we had to purchase boards, the boards had to be put up, and the boards had to be taken down, and then the cleanup for the hurricane. And that was very expensive.
How much was that, Patty?
$10,698.
And that was apart from the $20,000 that we paid to
Clean up.
to the company.
No, that was part of it. What of the 20,000? What are you talking about? We had, some of it was budgeted for the special assessment, and some of it's budgeted for the operating budget. The total was about 20,000. So part was allocated for the special assessment, and part was allocated for the operating budget. Okay. The good news is, even though we had all those expenses over and we had some under, we did have a balance of $6,637 that we had in the bank as of January 1st, 2018, which I was very impressed with, because I think a couple of months I said, we're just going to break even, or we're only going to have about $2,000 or $3,000 left. We actually had $6,637.
I have a question. Yes. Whatever happened to the $1,600 for the social fund money?
It's still in there.
It's still in there?
It's 16,1632.79.
Then why can't we use it?
You asking the treasurer?
I'm asking somebody on the board, why can't we use it?
But that question, if we can't get into it, because I don't want to get into it now, because why we're not using it, because it's not on this sheet. But believe you me, the next meeting we have, it will be brought up. So, as we're going here, and now we're going to go on here. Everybody happy with the financial thing?
Boy, oh boy. That's
Okay.
That's great. That's
So,
really great.
2017, sorry you don't like that, but that's how it
Hey,
goes.
yeah, right.
The rules are rules.
Oh, yeah.
Discuss,
Okay.
now we're going to discuss and fill the vacancy of, we have a vacancy for a board candidates for John Fulham, Craig Rao, and Phil Wilkins. Right now, I don't see
John or Phil?
John or Phil here.
John's working.
So, did anybody hear from them and they said they were gonna, I know that John told, okay, sorry?
John is working.
Okay.
And Phil wasn't able to.
Phil wasn't be able to, okay.
And Craig flew in from Indiana last night,
Right.
just for this meeting, just for the record.
Yes.
Gentleman right here.
So what we'd like to do now is have Craig, will have 2 minutes to speak, and I'll give him 3 minutes. 3 minutes, and Craig, I want you to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. If anybody hasn't received one of my bios yet, please just raise your hand and we'll get this to you right away. But I brought this down specifically to answer any questions because I know I'm a relatively unknown individual here. But of course, everybody knows my father-in-law, Bob Burke, and we do come down quite frequently. I basically come from an engineering background, and prior to that, a multi-family housing unit where we managed units similar to this as a family. So I want to open it up for any discussions, but I want to give you just a little bit of background of where I'm from. We live in Indiana. We come down here several weeks throughout the year, and we've recently reached an age where we want to retire, and I want to be able to at least be able to share some of my talents and that type of thing with everyone. And I welcome the opportunity to do that if I'm elected. And I know there are 2 opportunities. One is a unique opportunity to fill the house vacancy. And of course, moreover, as we look down the road, we're interested in the long-term position as well. So I'm presenting myself for both opportunities, if that's okay. My background is basically engineering, so I come from electronics. I do have several patents as well as several different facilities that I've constructed. Most of them have been manufacturing sites, but once again, I'm very familiar with multifamily housing requirements. Most of them from a mechanical systems standpoint and from an occupancy standpoint, code regulations, as well as economic development funding options that are available to organizations like this. But I think I've got a great deal that I could help everyone with. So the whole broad spectrum of guidance, I think I'm going to be very helpful.
Sounds real good to me.
Well, and I'm here to help. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you again. I want to say flying in for this special meeting.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
I didn't want to say one thing. I got that package and I was impressed. It was nice.
Thank you.
So
I
thank
appreciate
you.
everyone's
Again,
support.
all this stuff will go out at the next one. Okay. So, just
Should
so
I
you
say,
know.
should I say a word about the election? Okay. The fellows that are running against Mr. Craig Rail are John Follow, my neighbor and a very good friend of mine, a nice guy. He was in some kind of law enforcement up in New Jersey, and we also have our absentee landlord, what's his name?
Phil Wilkins.
Phil Wilkins, right, we also have him. Now, if anybody has read this, if this man is not put on the board, then something is drastically wrong in this place. And even,
Okay, let's go. That's enough. You don't have to say what we have to say.
even if Mr. Follow and Mr. Wilkins read this, they would vote for that gentleman right there.
Okay, thank you, Dick. Thank you, Dick. Okay, what we're going to do now, we're going to discuss, we're going to vote. And we're going to start with the vote, and the board will vote on the 3 candidates. We have, like I said, we got around 3 candidates, John Foley, Craig Rao, and Phil Wilkins. So we're going to start with Kay. We'd like to see who would you want to pick?
Great.
We're going Craig, okay? 1 for Greg. Bernie?
Craig.
Okay. And Pat?
I'm voting for Phil
Tricia?
Wilkins. I met with Craig this morning for about 40 minutes. We did talk about the fact that he has the opportunity of running in March. I told him I've never met him. I've been here for 6 years. I've never seen you around. I told him why I was voting. Well, I didn't tell him what I was voting for, but I told him why I thought Phil. Excuse me, I'm speaking.
Yeah.
I told him why I thought Phil was a good candidate, and that is because Phil has been involved with the paint committee. He led the paint committee. He also was involved with the construction project from the very beginning. He was one of the number of people who actually spoke with the 5 potential contractors. He was also going to be part of the meeting and that was a long process, and he was also going to be part of the meeting where they actually talked to the 3 contractors, and then there was a date change and he couldn't make it. But he's always been, every time I've spoken to Phil for advice, he owns other condos. He's been to condo rules and regulations with the ombudsman. I think for this short-term appointment, I think he's a good choice. In 2 years, in March, we'll have 4 openings, which will be a 2-year term, and at that time, John can run again, and Craig, as I said, he can run again too. So my vote goes to Phil.
Johnny, Bench?
My vote goes for Phil also.
Votes for Phil?
Yep.
Okay, that's what now we got, okay, and...
I vote for Phil.
For who? For Phil. Okay. And I'm gonna vote for Phil because Phil has done a lot of work around here. And by the way, the reason is he's been on a lot of committees. He's been on the board down there at the Parliament House, and
Where's that very involved?
very involved. So that's why it's what now, the vote is in. Phil will be filling in for Al's job as he is the candidate now to take over that term until next year when his term runs out, not in February, not in March, in 2019. Okay. That's good. Now we're all done with that. Now we're going to discuss and vote on security cameras. We came to a nice, we have some issues here, and I think it's not a bad idea. We looked into some security cameras. We have some bids. I really could have done this without bringing it up with the people, but I wanted to tell them I think it's a good idea. There's a lot of incidents that's happened here, and we don't have anything to say what happened and anything. So, what I'm recommending...
Lots of gypsies in the area. I don't know if y'all are aware of it and you read, but there's lots of gypsies and there have been lots of theft in the area. And the attorneys have highly recommended it.
The attorney plus the police department when they came here...
Excuse me,
Let me finish,
why didn't the attorney
please.
suggest
Let me
this
finish.
22 months ago when you hired?
Well, a lot of
They did.
things... A lot
22
of
months ago, then why didn't you do it 22
police
months ago?
We've been waiting.
and that's what we had. A lot of people stealing stuff. We had people taking things that were missing. Things were, a lot of things happened here. We had to paint, a lot of things that happened that should never happen. And the best thing to do, so I have said, why don't we think about getting a security camera? And then there's a lot of other people want to say something after I'm done. So I have a question. And then when I get to it, we'll have to answer questions. So what we're doing, like I said, we're going to look into the cameras. Again, you can't put a cost on safety. We had some issues here before. We had some people walking in people's houses. We didn't know who did it. So I'm just saying. So after that, I'll have some questions. Go ahead, James. We'll start with you.
What's the cost for these?
Well, right now, we're looking at probably around $4,500. It could be less.
What's the monitoring system? Is it to like an
It's going to be
internet?
the cameras that'll be in the room.
Well, what's the storage device is my question.
Yeah, well, that's why I got all this stuff here. How's that? So yeah, this is the camera business. The guy was here the other day. The other people I called in. I couldn't look around, but I'm just wanted to say we're going to vote on it and see what after.
Just a
your
question is, I have security systems for my business. Sometimes hiring a company rather than putting in a system is more efficient. Like a monitoring system where a company will actually be looking at it rather than some system that we have to monitor that we may or may not be looking at the time. If you want security is a company.
That's something to look into.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and something to look into. That's right.
There's a lot of older.
Let's go with Bev, because she's the one that jumped up. Go ahead. What would you like to say? I know that something.
I want to know why you didn't do it 22 months ago if the lawyer suggested it then. Why wait until now?
Because
We're going to be the fanciest poorhouse in this.
it's going to be nice. Go ahead, Frank.
Since we're out on the island, I say we're in a pretty safe place. Now, you can never say you're safe, because you never know, tomorrow somebody might get robbed. But we're not a gated community, and we have easy access from any street to parking lot. It's just a place not for security cameras. And people now, if you watch TV at all, first thing they do is put a hood on and go into the jewelry store and rob it. And so, what do you know, some hooded guy, it's like, to me, I think it's an expense that we don't need.
We're on camera everywhere you go.
Although you said
Literally.
it's not an area in camera. Oh, go ahead.
I think you know my feeling on it, I'm against it too, but that's fine. But wouldn't it be nice, the first step maybe be some enhanced lighting that just goes on when someone comes on the property? Maybe that would be a good first step. And rather than something, as I say, I have a lot of experience with security cameras, and there's a plethora of problems with them. I'm not saying that it's, now we consider everything, but I think that perhaps if we had some enhanced lighting that went on when people came in, it might help more than a security camera that, like Frank said, they can paint out, they can smash out, they can, and you can't cover all areas of your building either. That's the other thing. Where are you going to put them? You're going to put them every few feet, otherwise they're really ineffective. Because they don't cover enough of the ground. And I'm quite surprised the police recommended that, because even when I had police in my schools, their opinion on security cameras is that, sure, they catch some things, but there's a lot of stuff that they don't catch as well. And for a small community that's open, if we were a closed community, apartment building, it makes a bit more sense. But I don't really see how it makes sense in a like it's open like
All
this.
right, thank you. Well, somebody else had their hand up?
I was just gonna suggest, Chris said, motion detectors, that kind of thing, and then my only other question was, you're talking about cameras and everything, and I know you picked how many, where was it recommended that they be put? Because maybe that's the same kind of a location you put the motion detectors.
Recommended, again, they were recommended, again, I have two more options, but I'll reason why I wanted to vote on it, have the board vote on it, for the best interest of the owners, and to see where they're gonna go. Right now, it's just all in that, by the elevators, checking out all the trash, people throwing things in the trash,
They're going down.
running the building.
Okay.
It's all in case somebody goes up, I'll use the 4th floor, we don't know. Someone breaks in there,
Okay.
they'll ask you, okay? All righty, so what I did, I'd like to make a motion on the floor, because again, make this to see what the board would like to do. I'd like to make a motion to vote on this, if you don't mind.
What's the proposal?
Can we vote? I get
Security cameras.
I'm sorry?
security cameras.
You mean to
Without
look into
specifying
it?
$500 right now, I have a bid, I have one bid for $1,500, $4,500, but I want to look into more, what Jim has now, but I want to see what the board, so we can pass it. And I don't know, Kay wants to speak about something that happened to her 2 years ago with a guy with a hat on. It's up to you.
Jimmy, can
You
I
think
ask
the
you one
camera
question?
would help that,
Is
honestly?
this vote gonna be to get the security cameras